Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV Live at 6.
Good evening. These are the stories making the headlines.
Stormont is challenged to help refugees as a family is reunited in war-torn Ukraine.
It's heartbreaking. Like once I see the people, I just couldn't stop crying, because I say to guys, I say, that's my people, that's Ukrainians.
Edwin Poots will replace the late Christopher Stolford as an MLA in South Belfast.
Sometimes you have to make these decisions, and hard decisions, and that's a decision that I have made, and I believe that it's a decision that will bring some degree of comfort to the family, in that they have someone who's the same values as Christopher.
And the Ulster Hospital's emergency department is under severe pressure this evening.
Also tonight, we're going electric on the buses with the Mayor of London.
I'm at Windsor Park, where the women's team have already sold 10,000 tickets for their World Cup qualifier against England next month.
And there's rain in the forecast tomorrow as it becomes increasingly unsettled. I'll have the full details later in the programme.
Stormont's leaders are being encouraged to send a strong message to the government to welcome significant numbers of Ukrainian refugees to Northern Ireland. The Secretary of State says that they are working to expand the refugee scheme.
It comes as the first convoys of aid from here reach Ukraine. Judith Hill's report follows the journey of a young Ukrainian woman from County Antrim who's made it back to her hometown in the war-torn country.
Just to see that faces, it just keep us going. It was like tears in the eyes. We just hug people.
We met Irina in her hometown of Lisburn this day last week. She, her partner Kieran and friend Michael have allowed us to track their journey with local aid through France, Romania and towards the Ukrainian border.
We just about to exit Romania. We've seen so many people leaving Ukraine, and it's really heartbreaking, especially for me to see. I started to cry because it's too emotional.
As far as the eye can see, the exit queue.
That's my people, that's Ukrainians, I'm Ukrainian, and it's just heartbreaking.
We are in Ukraine, in Chernivtsi. Thanks to God and thanks for all prayers. Thank you very much, guys.
They're one of many groups from Northern Ireland bringing aid to those who have left it all behind. These supplies from West Belfast and beyond were dispatched this morning.
We have a long road ahead of us on the way to Romania and the bordering area of Ukraine. But again, we feel a real duty, a real responsibility to get this vital aid to the people who are fleeing this country.
As the bombardment goes on, the refugee crisis explodes. 1.5 million plus people now homeless.
Stormont needs to send a very strong message to the Home Office that it needs to open the borders, open the doors, waive the visas and start welcoming people in the sort of numbers that are needed.
At Stormont, Nicola Mallon has written to ministers to request an urgent meeting. Other ministers too in response mode.
I have written to the head of the civil service to ensure that my department stands ready to look at a refugee scheme to make sure that we're up and running, to assist in any way that we can in terms of the humanitarian crisis.
Not only have we now got the family scheme already in place, we want to work through to make sure that when people come to this country, they get the support that they need to be properly welcomed and be able to integrate properly. We're also looking to expand that scheme to people, refugees coming from Ukraine, even potentially without family members already here in the UK.
But on the ground, the agony goes on. Irina has made it home to the arms of her family. A precious reunion before a painful goodbye as she prepares to come back here and they choose to stay.
Of course, I'm praying, but we never know what's going to be tomorrow, if I'm going to see them again. So it is heartbreaking, but I really hope that next time when we're back, war will stop and I see my parents again.
A heartfelt prayer in the midst of a war that continues to wreck so many lives. Judith Hill, UTV Live.
Edwin Poots is to replace Christopher Stolford as the party's MLA in South Belfast. Mr Poots said he was making the move from Lagan Valley at the request of Mr Stolford's family after the 39-year-old father of four died suddenly last month. Our political editor Tracy McGee is here. Is this a surprise?
Well, it's safe to say that the DUP have been in a state of flux for a couple of weeks now, but for different reasons. The untimely death of Christopher Stalford 2 weeks ago left a vacancy which the rule said had to be filled by today. Now, at the same time, there's been this ongoing row over the South Down candidacy. The party officers chose local woman Diane Forsyth, but Edwin Poots insisted that he had been told by Sir Geoffrey that that was going to be his place, and he was threatening to kick up a fuss when the grassroots members met to ratify everything in a few weeks, whenever that was going to be. So I suppose this decision today does sort the problems out, but look, everybody will tell you nobody wanted it to be sorted out in these circumstances. Edwin Poots saying that the party had first approached Tracy Kelly, a Belfast councillor, but she didn't want to take on the role, and he only decided to do it himself when the party asked him to when the family asked him to do so.
It's also with a degree of regret as well that I leave a constituency in Lagan Valley that I've served for 24 years. And have a family connection in terms of public representation stretching back some 50 years. But sometimes you have to make these decisions, and hard decisions, and that's a decision that I have made, and I believe that it's a decision that will bring some degree of comfort to the family, in that they have someone who's the same values as Christopher representing this constituency.
Well, he can't serve as an MLA both in Lagan Valley and in South Belfast, so what's going to happen in Lagan Valley?
Well, Sir Geoffrey was asked about who was going to replace Edwin Poots, but he was quite coy about it. I think after all the fighting and dispute, he decided that he's going to play it by the book and wouldn't name anyone today.
In Lagan Valley, we haven't yet completed our selection process. We will take that forward over the next few days, and I've indicated my intention to stand in the Assembly elections, and that remains the position. We will need to select a candidate to replace Edwin in the Assembly, but that decision has not yet been made, so I'm not in a position to announce what will happen on that.
Is there any possibility that Sir Geoffrey Donaldson could be co-opted in Lagan Valley in the interim?
Well, it would seem like a tidy solution, but it isn't really. Firstly, Sir Geoffrey can't be an MP and an MLA because we don't have dual mandates. He says that he's going to stand in his own right in the election come May 5th. So I think what you'll see is another candidate being nominated into Edwin Poots's seat, I suppose in a way to showcase them ahead of the election.
Tracy McGee, thank you very much. Well, on View from Stormont tonight, we'll be talking to ITV News Europe editor James Mates about the current situation in Ukraine. And almost a decade ago, the executive promised that all peace walls here were meant to come down by 2023. That's next year. Is that likely to happen? We'll have a special extended piece on tonight's programme. That's View from Stormont at 10:45.
The South Eastern Trust says that the emergency department at the Ulster Hospital is under severe pressure this evening. We can join our health reporter, Deborah McAleese, who's in Dundonald now. So, Deborah, can you tell me what the situation is actually like there at the moment?
Well, Rose, when Omicron first hit towards the end of last year, we were told that the health service was facing its worst winter ever. We're now into March, and health service staff would have really been hoping that by this stage they would have started to see some light at the end of the tunnel. But they are not. The emergency department behind me, the staff there tonight are working flat out. There are 136 patients waiting in that department. Many of them are seriously ill. More than 40 of them are waiting for a bed, and there just simply isn't one. But it's not just here at the Ulster Hospital. Antrim Area Hospital had to put out a tweet earlier advising people that they were under extreme pressure. And at the weekend, the Western Trust had to put out a call out for staff to come in and help out. And you really do have to wonder just how much longer are staff going to have to work in these circumstances, to work under these extreme pressures.
Deborah, has the Health Minister commented about these pressures which our accident and emergency departments are facing?
Well, the Minister did issue a statement earlier today, Rose. Now, in it, he didn't say anything that we don't already know. He said that, our hospitals just cannot cope with the level of demand. Now, COVID still is a big problem. There are more than 400 patients being treated with COVID-19 in our hospitals at the minute. But it's not just the only problem. And the Minister did call on the public for help. He said, look, please don't attend an emergency department unless it is a real emergency. He also asked those patients who are fit for discharge from hospital to please leave whenever it is safe to do so, to free up the bed for those patients who are waiting for a hospital bed. Now, he also asked that if you are visiting anyone in a hospital or in a care home setting, to please take care, to wear your face mask, wash your hands, to practice social distancing. And he also, once again, asked people to get vaccinated and to get their booster. Now, look, these are very short-term measures that might help in the short term, but this is a long-term problem.
Deborah McAleese, thank you very much.
A former All-Ireland club football champion has been jailed for 10 years for his role in a number of ATM robberies. 32-year-old Daniel O'Callaghan from Crossmaglen in County Armagh was found guilty last month of being involved with a cross-border criminal gang. During the raids, the gang stole €790,000. 4 other men have also been sentenced in connection with the thefts.
Detectives are continuing to question a 36-year-old man and a 29-year-old woman in connection with a burglary at a pharmacy in North Belfast on Saturday night. A man entered the shop on the Antrim Road shortly before 5:20 armed with a hammer. He stabbed the pharmacist in the hand with a knife.
Well, now for more of today's news, you can search UTV News, and that's where you'll find us online. Now, a financial squeeze at Transport for London could hinder future orders at Wrightbus in Ballymena.
On a visit to the factory, London Mayor Sadiq Khan called for Downing Street to increase TfL's budget and help vehicle manufacturers like Wrightbus across all of the regions in the UK. This report is from our correspondent, Mark McFadden.
21st century London demands 21st century buses. Electric, quiet and green. This is one of the new generation double-deckers being made by Wrightbus. Later this year, it will be rolling through London streets. London, though, needs many, many more to replace its already ageing fleet. But Transport for London, the authority that commissions public transport services in the capital, is feeling the financial squeeze. 2 years of pandemic saw passenger numbers plummet. So if London is to buy more of these from Wrightbus, then TfL needs a financial leg up from central government.
This factory has built 20 double-decker hydrogen buses. This factory is currently building 30 double-decker electric buses. I want to order more buses from this factory. I can't do so, though, until I've got certainty from the government for a long-term capital deal.
6 years ago, the then Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, had his own way of testing the strength of Wrightbus. Today, the current Mayor was keeping his feet on the ground.
We can't, in London, build these brilliant buses. There's a great factory here in Ballymena that can, but we need a long-term capital deal from the government to provide the orders this factory needs, and indeed our city needs as well.
TfL believes if it has the funds to invest in fleet for the future, then it can benefit the regions in places like this and help to create vital jobs in manufacturing and in the supply sector.
It's not just London-centric, and coming here today, what a wonderful factory and wonderful people we've met, and we are working very hard behind the scenes to make the government aware of the impact of the funding deal that we're trying to fight for.
We're developing the best new technology, and what we want to see is our new technology dominating the London streets and showing that, the magnificent engineering from Ballymena.
Can somebody check before this goes on the roads in London? Yeah?
Getting the big wheels to agree a financial deal is still some way off, but Sadiq Khan hopes to emphasise that whilst red London buses are an iconic symbol of Britain, they're also helping to drive the UK engineering sector and its push for greener cities and cleaner skies. Mark McFadden, UTV Live, Ballymena.
Well, still to come on the programme. They've got 10,000 reasons to be happy as the Northern Ireland women continue their amazing rise.
And doubts over the future of the Ulster Grand Prix after this year's event was cancelled. So for that and more, do stay with us.
Welcome back. The ITV Evening News will of course be coming up just after UTV Live at 6, but it will not be quite as you've seen it before.
Because from tonight it will run for 1 hour each and every weeknight. Here's Mary Nightingale with the details.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening. The ITV Evening News has been a constant presence on our TV screens for more than 2 decades, broadcasting live into millions of homes every day.
3, 2, Staying on 1.
Now we're getting even bigger. We've expanded our teams across the UK.
It's a busy and bustling red carpet.
The winds have been really picking up here since that amber warning came into place.
Today has been nothing short of a disaster for the DUP.
There'll be more of the investigative journalism we do best.
This is all mould. This is all mould.
His fictional party was a business meeting.
And our correspondents will be live across the country and around the world. We'll have more of the stories that make you smile.
Was that a good surprise? Yeah. I can stay here now.
And we're bringing the national weather into the programme too, both in the studio and out on location.
Inside those doors is a huge studio, which I'm still trying to get to grips with. I can't wait to show it off.
Thank you very much indeed for that.
So that's what's coming up, and it all starts tonight here on ITV. We'll see you there.
Earlier I spoke to Mary, who was preparing for the new programme, and I started by asking her how big a moment this was for ITV News.
Well, Paula, first of all, thank you for having me on the programme. It's lovely to be here. I think it really is a big moment for ITV News. They've made the biggest investment in new jobs in 20 years. They have bolstered their teams in the nations and regions, and there's a real commitment to an expanded news coverage, which at a time when, you know, we were told, weren't we, years ago, that no one would be watching television news, they'd get all online. I think it's a real vote of confidence, and it's the viewers are watching us, and that has to be fantastic news.
And what can viewers expect to see that's different on the evening news from tonight?
Now, Paul, I get nervous when the word different is mentioned, because what we have said in all of our planning meetings here is that it's not going to be different, because we think that viewers broadly like what we do already, and we don't want to throw out a successful formula. So what I think we're going to be doing is giving our viewers more of what they like. So more investigations, more original journalism. And I think we will have enough time to do all these stories justice, which is, you know, really exciting.
ITV News is made up of teams across the regions and the network newsrooms. How much will we be working together?
I think increasingly, we have this amazing talent pool at ITV News, and it's spread throughout the nations and regions. And we already make very good use of the brilliant talent that you have, Tracy McGee and Mark Mallet, who've contributed so much to our programmes over the last few years. But I think we want to make more use of those resources, because nobody knows their communities and the stories in their communities like local journalists, do they? So we want to do more of that. We want to hear what's really important in your area, and we want to showcase that as best we can.
And how big a role is the weather going to play in this programme?
Huge. The weather is always huge, isn't it? I mean, everyone is obsessed with the weather. But But actually, it's more than just a forecast nowadays, isn't it? Weather is a very significant news story, and we're only too aware of that. You know, think of all the storms that lashed the country over the past few months. So I think we decided that we need to pay that really good attention, cover things like climate change and global warming.
Mary, thank you, and we'll see you shortly.
Thank you very much.
And now Dan is here with the sport.
Hughes Insurance sponsors UTV Sport.
Good evening. The Irish FA will meet this week to decide Glentoran's Irish Cup fate. The Glens defeated Newry in the quarter-finals, but it's understood that Joe Crow played in the match without completing a 3-game suspension, which he picked up playing for the reserves. The Glens are due to face Ballymena United in the last 4, while Cliftonville face Crusaders. On the women's game, and the women turning professional is a massive game changer for Northern Ireland's senior team, according to their captain Marissa Callaghan. 10,000 tickets have already been sold for the team's World Cup qualifier against England in April. Sarah Clark caught up with some of the players ahead of International Women's Day tomorrow.
The Northern Ireland senior women's team are used to doing their talking on the pitch. And they've certainly reason to be cheerful. They've qualified for the European Championships this summer and now have their sights on the World Cup. 10,000 tickets have so far been sold for the Women's World Cup qualifier against England next month. That's the biggest home crowd the team will have ever played in front of. And to think that just a few years ago they might have attracted a crowd of 50 or 60 people shows the massive success this team is enjoying.
How much of a game changer has it been that you've turned professional from January?
Listen, it's been a massive game changer for us. Previous to this, we all have full-time jobs. We were juggling families. I have a young son at home, so I was getting very little time with him. And also we were trying to work full-time, play for our clubs, train with Kenny, and you know we had a lot of different things on, a very busy schedule.
Previously we were rushing from one thing to the other, and you know you didn't have much time to rest and recover, so now we're getting the benefit of additional training time and also the added recovery and rest time that you need as a full-time footballer.
What are your aspirations, short-term and long-term?
I can't look further. I always think and always prepare, we always prepare to try and win our next match. And, you know, when that's over, it's the next match again.
So focus on a game at a time. Sound advice in any walk of life, but these footballers have also proven that it pays off to dream big. Sarah Clark, UTV Live, Windsor Park.
The future of the Ulster Grand Prix remains unclear after organisers were forced to cancel this year's event, which was due to take place at Dundrod in August. This would have marked this year's centenary of the event. It is the fastest road race in the world and a regular feature in the racing calendar for almost a century. After a 3-year break, it seemed this was the year the Ulster Grand Prix would finally return to the roads. Today, those plans were cancelled due to a lack of agreed funding. In a statement, Tourism NI said it couldn't justify the level of funding requested, both on financial and legal grounds.
The Ulster Grand Prix is our heritage road race. You know, we are the road racing capital of the world, and the Ulster Grand Prix really is the road race of the world. It's just unbelievable, you know, the knock, not just to the motorcycle and to the motorcycle fans, but to the motorcycle road racers. You know, we have many, many historic racers, historic bikes. Everything was planned for this year to celebrate the Ulster Grand Prix 100 years. So to lose that is just unbelievable, but also a massive loss that people don't believe to the economy. This will be the 3rd year the Ulster Grand Prix hasn't run. So to be honest, can we save it the 4th time? It's going to be very, very hard. But the cost, as you know, each year the cost goes up, the cost goes up. This year the cost was an increase from the previous year, but nothing to what it'll be if we want to try and run it again in 2023.
In Gaelic games, Antrim's hurlers slipped to defeat against Laois in Division 1. The Saffrons will now face a relegation playoff against either Offaly or Limerick. Elsewhere, there was success for Owen Rowe as they secured the All-Ireland Junior Camogie title thanks to a 1-point win over Clan Morris. Ireland hockey captain Katie Mullen's goal helped secure the win for the Ulster champions. Ian Henderson is back playing for Ireland this week ahead of the trip to Twickenham as the team take on England in the penultimate round of the Six Nations Championship. Robert Ballacoon, James Hume and Nick Timney all returned to the squad after helping Ulster to victory against Cardiff at the weekend. Jordan Larmour will miss Ireland's next 2 games though through injury.
We need to improve everywhere. I mean, we're going away from home, we're going to Twickenham with a full crowd. England, I think, are just bubbling and are just on the verge of a big performance. So every part of what we do needs to be done better.
In golf, Rory McIlroy and Graham McDowell struggled in their final rounds at the Arnold Palmer Invitational in Florida. Both players carded 4 over par rounds to finish in joint 13th position, 6 shots behind eventual winner Scotty Scheffler. The Belfast Giants picked up 3 wins over the weekend to move 2 points clear at the top of the Elite League. And finally, Warren Feeney has joined Northern Ireland under-21 coaching staff on a short-term basis after Ian Barraclough offered him the role. That's all your sport. Bye for now.
Hughes Insurance sponsors UTV Sport.
Well, let's have a look at the weather, and apparently we've got some pretty bad weather on the way.
Oh dear, that's all I need. Louise has the details.
Rain wasn't on the forecast. Ah well. UTV weather, sponsored by Phoenix Natural Gas.
Hello there, good evening. After a fairly settled day, it's all changed tomorrow with the arrival of heavy rain and strong winds, with the chance of a frost developing overnight. Looking at the pressure sequences, high pressure moves off to the east, the isobars start to tighten, winds will pick up, a number of fronts will try and move in from the west, bringing wet and windy weather for the next few days, with pulses of rain which could become quite heavy at times. Cloud will come and go through tonight with a few clear spells. Under any breaks in the cloud, a frost will form. Winds will continue to stay quite strong around the coast, becoming lighter inland. Temperatures will dip to freezing or just below in some rural spots, so quite a cool night to come. A windy but bright start tomorrow. Cloud will increase and thicken as rain starts to spread in from the west. Some of the showers could become quite heavy and persistent, with gusts of 40 miles per hour around the coast, possibly turning to gale force across the southeast, with temperatures reaching highs of 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Across the rest of Ireland, it's a very similar picture. A wet and windy start with strong to gale force winds across the southeast, with a yellow warning for wind in place. Rain will become heavy and persistent, clearing to squally showers with temperatures reaching double figures. Looking ahead, Wednesday will be a similar day with wet and windy weather. Thursday will become drier before rain arrives back later, with further showers moving in on Friday. But as you can see, temperatures are on the rise this week, become a lot milder as we head towards the weekend. That is very latest. Have a lovely evening.
Home, happy as you like, even with a little compromise. UTV weather, sponsored by Phoenix Natural Gas.
That's the way it is in Northern Ireland this Monday tea time. Now this evening, each of us here at UTV is remembering fondly a much respected colleague, Simon McGuinness, who passed away at the weekend.
Simon was a huge part of the UTV team for many years, playing a key role behind the scenes, and he was a dear friend to all of us. Our heartfelt sympathies go to Simon's family and his friends. For now, from all of us here, good evening.
Good evening.